how many people out there during childhood, when they're an adolescent and when they're an adult, how many of them actually feel bad about what other people are saying about them? Because this is a subject that is actually, I always find it very interesting to at least analyze it within myself, whether what somebody says causes a negative reaction in me, because at times it does, in the past especially, when I was like a teenager and a child. If for some reason it could very, very much upset me what people would say about me. But we're not going to get into the specifics of what people said back then, because it's been so long ago by now, it doesn't really matter anymore to me. But other than that, there's people out there, even now, even though they're older than they're in their 20s or 30s or even beyond that, they might still be upset in some way when people make negative remarks to them, about them. They might not like their attitude, they might not like the clothes they're wearing, they might not like how they look in general. Like there's all kinds of reasons we could come up with to complain to others or to say nasty remarks to other people, but that's using your mind in one way. There's another way of using it, which is to use it to find the good, to find what's positive, what's uplifting for us individually. Now this person in question, if you look on the screen here, they asked, how are you dealing with negative people when someone is making fun of you? So it's really hard sometimes to be calm in some situations with people. One time I am calm and the other time I have a big anger when someone insults me. It is really a spiritual school here on earth to learn and understand the truth. I know that we should not take things personally, but even though I know this, it's still waking negative, angry emotions in me. Yeah, there's nothing strange about that. You see, if you want to get very technical about this, even though it might not be the answer that you're looking for, usually people are looking for like answers like, oh, it's okay, don't mind what other people say, no, you're fine, you're a good person, you're a great person, this and that, all this superficial stuff, right? That's usually the response that people get when they tell their friends or family like, oh, these people are being mean to me. Well, here's a different approach that I would like to share with you, and it's more spiritual overall. You see, when you hear somebody tell you something that you do not like, it causes this negative emotion to arise within you. It can be very useful to first of all ask yourself, why is this upsetting to me? Why is this very thing that this person is telling me making me angry? Now, of course, we're only approaching this from the angle of words. If people are physically violent with you and attacking you, well, then it's a different situation and you would have to defend yourself or walk away from the situation in that moment of time. But when people are making a negative remark for you, if you can't leave their side, right? If it's something of work or college or whatever, where you're kind of stuck with these people, or it might even be family, to be honest, it happens all the time there as well, where people are stuck with negative family members. Just ask yourself, why is this upsetting me? Try to open your mind in such a way that you can actually get strength out of the situation. So you ask yourself, why is this upsetting me? And you discover all kinds of reasons. For example, it might be a very egoic reasons for yourself why you're upset, where you're like, I don't agree with what they're saying, I don't like that they called me this because I know I am better. All these reasons come up, right? But then you can also start to discover that, but the things that these people are saying to me, they come in through my senses, right? And throughout spiritual texts, throughout all the hundreds and thousands of years, humanity has been told to not be controlled by their senses. So what is that actually revealing? Well, to me it reveals that if somebody says something nasty, which as a YouTuber it happens all the time, you get comments. I mean, most viewers might not be aware of this all the time, but us YouTubers, we get nasty comments all the time of people making weird remarks about us, about the voice, about this, that, the other. It's like all kinds of stuff where you're like, okay, that's interesting, and you just go on with your content, at least in my case. But you see, these nasty remarks come in and I observe them through my senses as well. in this case, it's not something that people tell me directly to my face, but then my eyes are the senses that perceive these comments. In your case, if people tell you negative stuff in person, it's your ears and eyes. Both of them are being affected by what is being thrown in your direction, basically. Because everything is energy. So their voice is a vibratory energy that comes into your ear and that triggers something within your consciousness, right? I know I told you this is going to be a bit technical, but if you look at it like this, you realize, but wait a minute, why am I allowing them to upset me? You see, they might be totally right to a certain extent. Perhaps they're saying something that is actually pretty accurate about you. Maybe a habitual behavior that they are complaining about or making remarks about, and that you know you should change. Well, again, there's a good way and a wrong way about going about this. The bad way to go about this is to feel upset about yourself for being angry with another person in general. Because here's the thing, you, I, everyone is raised to live through the senses from birth. That's how this all happens. So you're basically trained from childhood on to react to everything that comes to you through the senses. Now that you're older, I don't know your age. Based on these questions, I don't know people's age, of course, but I'm just assuming that you're either a teenager or in your 20s or something. I don't know, because usually that's the age where people complain about this the most, but now you're at least at that age where you can control your mind. However, the problem is we're never told that we can do this. Like, imagine that. You're never told, hey man, you can control your mind and do something great with it. And then it's like, what does that even mean? How do you do that? Because I'm so used to living through my senses. What does that mean? Well, it means to stop and think. So somebody says something bad about you, you don't have to become angry. And even though if you feel that anger rise up within you, don't beat yourself up over it. Just ask yourself then, why am I so upset over this? What in me is making me so angry about what they are saying? And then dissolve that reason. Then try to figure out what is the reason and then, neutralize that anger altogether. Because you can get swept up in your own anger, and that's when things spiral out of control, and that's no good. But if you analyze why you're angry, you can actually start working with it for yourself. Now, even though you might be in a situation where you constantly have to put up with people that are negative, that are saying weird things about you, ultimately, if you're in control of your own mind, then you can be in any situation, and it won't drag you all over the place anymore. And in fact, it might start annoying the very person that is being negative towards you. If you don't have any emotional response to them, it might upset them. That's the weird part. You see, many times people that are making these negative remarks to you, sometimes it's valid, of course, but in many times as well, it's actually a sign of them being very, in a negative, bad spot themselves, and they want to drag you down. This happens all the time, let's be honest here. There are people out there that are feeling so negative every day. They can't stand seeing others being happy or well off. And so they want to keep dragging those people down with them. So you have to understand, in some cases it's just these people. It's a reflection of themselves, of how they are going through life right now from a bad spot, from a bad state of mind. That's why they are making negative remarks. Because if you're in an optimistic state of mind, at least I can confirm from personal experience, you don't feel the need to make negative remarks to anyone any longer. So there's great lessons to be learned here overall. So just saying oh no, you're a great person, don't mind what they're saying, it's just one way of going about it, but it's too superficial to me. If we go a little deeper right there, we can learn a lot more about our own consciousness and the consciousness of other people in general, and then we become stronger people overall. We become stronger individuals that can handle the blows that life is going to give us. Because there's always going to be people that are going to, for whatever reason, they're just going to, be negative towards you. It's just the way it is. If you go back in scriptures, for example, the Bible, or even with Buddhism and Hinduism, you see all these examples of great spiritual teachers that tried to help humanity, but there was also a great amount of people that would just mock and bitch and complain to all these teachers of what they were explaining, right? So even they had their haters. That's what we're dealing with here. The acceptance of, okay, there's going to be people that are not going to like me. And you know what? That's totally fine. Because I don't need to like them either. I don't need to be friends with them forcibly. No, none of that. But again, I know it's sometimes a little tricky if you're sort of forced temporarily to be with these people, to be surrounded by them due to work or college. Some people actually change their jobs or schools altogether because of bullying and stuff like that. That's another degree of this madness. And you know, I can totally understand. I can totally agree with people changing schools or jobs if the bullying is just too much, if it's too crazy. I mean, you're better off going away altogether. But I'm assuming with your message here that it's mostly about people just saying stupid shit to you at times. And you know, you don't have to take that personal at all. But if you do, ask yourself why. Because then you learn more about your own mind, about what's going on inside of your own consciousness, that will then help you to control yourself more effectively, to make sure that in future situations, similar remarks don't throw you off track as much. Especially if you're sensitive to this, it can be very dangerous in a way. Well, dangerous sounds like a little over the top, but what I mean is that some people are extra sensitive about, you know, the opinion of other people overall. And then if you don't learn to control that, then throughout your entire life you're going to be thrown all over the place, because this will never end. People will always have an opinion about you and something to say about you. And some people, well, they keep it to themselves. But there's also a percentage of people that will never do that and just gonna throw it into your face. So as long as you're stable within yourself, you can handle whatever anyone says. Yes, it might upset you, it might hurt you maybe in some way. And again, don't feel bad about that. Don't feel ashamed of that or anything. Don't be angry with yourself for that reaction either, because that's what being human is about. That's just a part of being human. It's just part of life. But you see, we don't have to spiral out of control though, even though people say negative stuff to us. And if we learn that, well, then life will become a lot easier overall in dealing with other people. That is just my take on it. As I said, it was going to be a little technical, etc. Maybe a totally different approach than you would have expected. Where even I would be like, oh, don't worry, man. Don't listen to the haters. I mean, it's good advice, but sometimes I like to go a little deeper. By now that should be clear by the state of my channel overall and the content that is being posted. Anyways, with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.